Hi, good evening, traders. This is Krishna Joshi here with 7 Points Capital, and I'm bringing to you today's trader takeaways. It was a Fed day today. Also, a lot of action going on given the AT&T and Time Warner approval yesterday after hours. So, a very busy day. The range on the SPY is finally bigger. Let's jump on to SPY. So that's just markets breaking out of these range. 274 that we saw as resistance, it broke through it, and it's been slowly grinding up and then hitting into the 280 resistance. And looking at a 30-minute perspective, this is where we'd been looking at 274 to 268 on the downside. It breaks out of it, not really pulling back to 274 on either of them, and then it's just gradually grinding up. Range every day is just getting narrower as well, except for today, that being a Fed day. You expected that at 2 o'clock, nothing surprising. It was factored in 25 basis point as they expected, and a few changes as well from the Fed chair. So let's jump into individual names. HRB, one of my better stocks on the day. The stock was beaten down. The earnings were pretty good. The stock just collapsed, tanked after hours. Initial spike first, and then just sold off for the rest of the after hours. Opened down today, and right after the big wash in the morning. So right after this big wash. So I was looking for a long setup in HRB, and then it just goes down, comes right back up. So I'm looking to get long here. So I ended up buying 2380s, I think, and then there was a quick scalp through the 24. So first take around there, but then every time it went above 24, actually it saw a seller, and then the offer would just stack up on a few exchanges, flip it down, and in the morning it was actually flipping it down 5-7 cents at a time because the spreads were surprisingly 2-3 cents. It wasn't like a 1 cent easy go down setup. And given that, the offer was just chasing it down, and then you could all of a sudden you would see like a big wash down, and I ended up buying on this big green candle. I just wanted to zoom in so you can see more clearly. So right on this bar, I ended up going as it makes a big push through 24, touches 2450, comes back down, and then through the 24s, end up buying the 2402, I think, and then makes a gives me a quick 20 cent scalp on it. And once it comes back here, I'm really being hesitant now because this is like the third attempt it's trying to break through this figure, and then the bid is there, but the offer is actually chasing it down. And on this last attempt, you could see the range being really narrow on it. So once it comes back to the 2385 for like the third or fourth time, this is when I'm actually not getting long, because I had two long trades already in it. So I let it go down, do its wash thing, and it comes right back through it. And then I end up buying. Think I was a little early on it. I did not have my full size. I had a quarter of my position, a few under chest, and then ended up buying that in the 50s. So a quick long here with my stop loss below the low of the days. And then because this was a big wash, and then at some point I knew that the offer was going to be taken out. So on multiple exchanges, the offer following it over 10,000 shares, I believe. And once it got taken out, I right away hit the offer. It flips down a few more cents, comes right back up, and on the next very bar, you see a big pop up. And I ended up taking a mid 70s, 70, 75, somewhere in here, and then 75s were holding. Yeah, so 75 start holding right after there. And once the 75s were holding, I again went long. Had a quick scalp here. It comes back through. I'm still holding long, and I become hesitant. And what I do is I kill my position right around here. So 75s. The reason here was because it was looking exactly similar how it looked at 2385 to me. So the bid is gone. The offer is stacked up. So I take off my position at 75 bid, and then it goes down, does its thing, comes right back up, and then on the big green bar again, that's where I look to get in again, because I see this as a wash, a failed breakdown, and then comes right back up, and then I end up buying like the low 80s, I think 80, 81 on the way up, and that was a quick scalp. I ended up buying about 24 for a quick scalp. So a lot of these, uh, lot of small trades in the morning wasn't really going on my full size, because like I was buying into, like I was chasing a little bit, 5 cents, 5 7 cents, because once the offer would get taken out, I'd buy after that, and then there would be a huge pop up. And similarly on this one, so I'd let it go down, come back, and then I'd end up getting a worse price, like I'd buy 80s, 82s versus 70, but that gave me a more higher probability of the trade working out versus being long here, staying long, and really not being confident or getting shaken out in this setup. So ended up working out 24. This was my first short trade in HRB. It comes back to 24 for the, so the same setup I'm taking the third time, uh, 85, 75s, and the same setup here again. As it failed, it couldn't really go up to 24 tens through the 24 tens. So I ended up taking a little short, covered into this because I knew that 75s were holding. So this is what happened. Covered into the low 80s again. Missed the long here, but again covered into, bought into, initiated a long here, quick scalps, and I saw like a big bottoming out pattern right around here. So I was expecting like a good reversal bottoming out pattern in this, and then I was expecting a big move. So I ended up buying uh, 80s, 85s, 90s. I bought like a third of my position, and then by this time I had my full size, so I did not add the O1s. But I was definitely sitting confident here. I knew what the stock was acting. I knew when the buyer would hold the prices, which is what it did over here. It held the 24 bid, unlike this time where, so you could really tell the difference when it started to switch over and it would change sides. So instead of the, if you wanted to buy an offer, you had to chase up a few cents here, versus if you were just trying to buy this, it would just stay there and not really flip up. So these were the signs that I was looking for, that if I was stuck short, how many levels would it take me to actually cover my short position, versus if I'm long, how many cents would I have to go lower to like get out of my position. So quite a few long positions, just one short right around here, and then it was just I was holding this position. I ended up taking in the mid 20s right around here. I had my orders out like 18, 12s, 24s. So I ended up getting out on the three tiers that I bought into. I scaled out of my position. I missed out on this move because I was expecting that it goes through below 24 and around 24 and kind of holds around there, just like it did here. Goes through, pulls back, makes a sharp pullback, and then it would give me a chance to get in. That did not happen, so I ended up missing this trade. But I did, in the second half, I did have some trouble with my long position. So I was long. So I had trouble with my long positions where I was long in the mid 50s right around here. Ended up adding 60 to 63 as it stabilized. And this popped into 70, but I, instead of like trimming some as I was doing on the way up in most of these long positions, I just held on and then ended up taking like the low 60s around here. The long setup did not really work around here. It was just giving back all of the gains from the afternoon, whatever it went up since the noon. So I wanted it to see if 24s come back, if 24s were going to hold for an overnight position. That did not happen. I ended up having a long position at 14 and just scaled out of my trade right around the close. So HRB was the best stock on the day. About 6 or 7 key trades in it. Really looking at small singles instead of going for one big home run. Let's move on to the most active stock on the day, AT&T. Let's look at the volume. 188 million shares traded today. Once it got approval, this is what happened. So it sold off after hours. Today morning it kind of sold off right off the open, but kind of before the open, it did pull back quite a few above the 33 level. So this is what I saw, where it would have lots of reserved bids and offers, and these algos would just be spraying orders. It would just wipe huge exchanges. So let's, for example, NYSE. So the algo would just constantly keep selling trickles of 100, 200 shares at the bid constantly versus TWX. So this was more like a pair trade going on. So right around that, so 33, 33, 10, 11 on AT&T was equivalent to 99.75 in 99.85 in Time Warner. And then so these levels would hold, and then one of them would lead the fall. And the move after that, the following move was pretty easy. So you really had to have a tough, I had a tough time because I was short as it broke through the 90s. I added to the mid 80s, just a few cents here. So I showed 92, 93, added in the 87, 88s, and couldn't cover all of my position because I felt like there's definitely a lot of weakness. I was looking at much lower levels, and not having covered all of it, I also wasn't expecting it to pull back all the way. So it was pretty much 100% retracement off of the 33.10. So I did get shaken out. I did cover my position here for a loss on the second move up about 33.05, and I wanted to see if this wanted to hold. But once I saw a clear pattern where the offer would hold and he would just sell massive quantities for um, at the bid like 33.09, 33.08, you just keep selling 100, 200 shares, while the same algo would also keep triggering a few hundred shares in TWX at the same time. So I ended up taking a short at 33.08, 07, covered for a small move here. But as I saw a similar pattern coming up around the 33.75, I call out the setup. I'm like, this looks really tight. The 75s are holding. I see a similar setup that I saw at 33.10, and I was able to size in much bigger here. And again, let's look at the timeline. So this is 10:45 through 10:55. Let's see those levels in TWX. A big misprint on this, so it kind of ruined my chart for the morning, but let's see if I can show you 10:45 through 11. Just what we saw in AT&T, just similar setup if we can look at that. So right around this one, you could see 32.75 in AT&T, which was equivalent of 99.25.26 in Time Warner, and it was a clean sell-off in both of them, and this ended up making a nice doji just below 98.75, and that was a good indication that the move might be over. So that was an easy trade in TWX and AT&T. So TWX, I was having a very small position, and I wanted to trade that AT&T position right around uh, with levels in TWX. So I had my full position in AT&T, but a small position in Time Warner, and I was respecting it was respecting these levels, and I'm keeping my stop right above here, so I'm not risking a lot while also giving myself the opportunity to cover pretty much everything. So I did end up taking the 58s as it broke through the 60. I ended up taking 61, 60, 59 on this one, and in the wash, and then just left it alone pretty much. And this pullback again wasn't surprising because I saw that move happen here. This was again triggered by a lot of these algos, a lot of pairs trading, merger arbitrage happening. All of these funds getting their hands dirty on these dark pools are so active today, um, and ended up taking a similar setup right around here at the break of 32.70. Ended up taking a similar setup right around the close at 32.42, and I believe Stan was trading the same setup. I did have a long setup initially here at 32.43. Um, took about 5-6 cents on a decent size here, given how this was holding. This was exactly the opposite of 75.76, because here the offer wouldn't let it flip up to 75.76. Similarly, the bid wouldn't flip down, and it would just absorb massive quantities of volume. All of these volumes, um, that's 200k on an average each volume bar. So it's just absorbing all of this volume, and it just made it bounce back. But interesting thing here was TWX was actually, it started selling off much earlier. So this one was peaking out at 306, while TWX at 306 was already starting to collapse. So that was the sign where I started, where on the next push through the 42, I knew that this is when AT&T falls. The bid did not hold. It hardly took any volume to actually knock out 42 bid this time. And then ever since then, it was a much easier trade. I did not have the size that I would have liked, but it did end up being a decent trade. What I would have wanted to do was not be involved in these. So I was definitely trying on the short side, because you could see those algos just spraying the bids constantly, and then it would just hit the bid, it would make it flip down 5 cents and comes right back up. So I was getting slipped quite a lot, even when I was confident in a position on looking at a setup. For example, the break of 32.50, I'd be in the money for a little bit, and then it would come right back up, start doing the same selling pattern again, and then just flip up 5 6 cents. So I did end up taking a few losses in this one, even though this was a fantastic trade and one right around the close. So these were few trades that we were looking at. Given the Fed day, the bank stocks were pretty active. The financials, GDX, EEM, so all of those names had massive volume, but did not really have a lot of setup in those stocks. I was focused on Comcast, Fox deal coming through. I was looking at Disney. I was looking at Discovery. So quite a few similar plays in the telecom and media space that I was focused on. So GDX had one good trade, which I think I could have held for so much more. So it was on the pullback so I could see this as potentially breaking through if this did not hold. So there was a massive bid here at 34, and once the 35 offer got taken out, this is where I got long half my position at 35, half at 36, and ever since then it was just spice just kind of bottomed out as well temporarily after the Fed news. So let's look at 245 on SPY. So SPY kind of had a few hammer bottoms right around 245, and then it just took off from there. And with that, GDX actually was much stronger on the way up. So you can see 2235 through 2255, an easy trade. I ended up taking it much quickly, because when I bought 35 36, I did have my orders out to get out at 39, and I did get executed, and I was feeling terrible about it, because once it broke through the 40s, it kind of got some help from SPY, got a really nice push, and just pushed through from the 40s through the 55. So this was an easy trade that I missed. This is something that I should have done better. I was already in the money, because I wasn't risking a lot. I was just putting out a feeler position, bought 35s. It looked good. The bid was following it up. Added 36 for the other half of my position, and then it was just an easy trade straight up. So this is something that high risk reward setup that I enjoy taking. The probability of these working out are definitely high, as long as I have the thesis that I'm trading in the direction of the general trend of the market, and which is why this could have been a much bigger trade, but definitely something I want to improve on. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. Ended up being a busy day, quite a few active names, and let's see how they follow through tomorrow, because Comcast might be having a bid out for Fox buying some more assets, and then we'll have some news in Disney as well. So let's see how it works out, and then we'll see you in the next video. But keep liking, subscribing, sharing with your friends, and thank you for the positive feedback. Much appreciated, and looking forward to the next one. Thank you, guys.